S. Truman of Independence, Missouri, stops for gas at Frederick, Maryland, en route to a place called Washington. Like many another American tourist, he says, "Fill her up," to the gas station attendant with whom he has a pleasant chat about his trip into the nation's capital. No, she's pretty good on oil. All set again, the missus gets back in the car, followed by the driver, who is used to driving big jobs. He had a big one in the White House. Now he's just another tourist heading east to familiar scenes in Washington, D.C. And no politics, says Mr. Truman. Have a nice trip, folks.
Christine Jorgensen, who used to answer to George, creates quite a stir as she returns home to New York from Copenhagen. Christine hit the headlines following the series of operations in Denmark that transformed her from a boy into a girl, all of which made her a celebrity to meet and talk to when she stepped off the plane at International Airport. Gentlemen, please give her a chance to talk.
I'm very impressed by everyone coming.
Christine, are you happy to be home?
Yes, of course. What American wouldn't be?
Have you been offered a movie contract?
Yes, but I haven't accepted it.
Do you have any plans regarding the theater?
No, I don't think so.
Hey, Christine!
Are you going to go on with your photography?
I hope so, yes.
I see.
I'm very happy to be back, and I don't have any plans at the moment. And I thank you all for coming, but I think it's too much. Fine, thank you very much.
43 top sports figures are the guests of President Eisenhower at the White House. Clark Griffith of baseball fame and Lieutenant Commander Helen Jacobs, tennis star, are among the champions represented. And the one and only Dimanche doubles with other top sports stars, including golfer Gene Sarazen. This was all a curtain raiser to the congressional baseball game for charity. President Ike looks at Rocky Marciano's mighty mauler and vetoes the idea, even as a calculated risk. The President and Bobby Jones, golf immortal, stand before the portrait painted by the chief executive of his favorite golfer. In front of the trophy room of the famous Augusta Golf Course, which the President favors for his moments of leisure, he presents his handiwork, copied from a photograph made when Jones was at his peak. A self-critic, the President is not quite satisfied with the left eye, which he said was smudged. But to the Grand Slam winner, it's perfect. The steamer Gothic, bearing Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip, enters the Panama Canal locks, and Her Majesty walks across the top of one of them to observe its construction as her ship goes through Miraflores. In the control room, she pushes the lever that operates the mighty lock as Philip looks on. The huge gates open as the Gothic inches slowly out for the 50-mile canal trip. Her Majesty then reboards the ship for the balance of the journey to the Pacific after viewing one of America's greatest engineering feats. Her Majesty's compliments to the men who will take her ship to the Fiji Islands, 16 days away across the broad reaches of the South Pacific, half a world away. The wedding of Senator John F. Kennedy recalls Newport's one-time social grandeur. Speaker of the House Martin, Congresswoman Edith Nourse Rogers, Senator and Mrs. Leverett Saltonstall, screen celebrity Marion Davies, and former Ambassador and Mrs. Joseph Kennedy, parents of the groom, are among the personalities on hand to make this the top society wedding of the year. For the spectators outside the church, it's a real storybook wedding. A radiant bride, the former Jacqueline Bouvier, and a handsome groom. With a pretty wife and a politically rising star, the future seems bright for the junior senator from Massachusetts. New York's top designers get together to create just one complete outfit to clothe just one complete girl. When they get her togged out, she's named the $1 Million Baby. First, you start with a chassis. For an elegant foundation, there are these satin strap sandals by I. Miller. We'll tell you the prices of these items as we go along, so start adding. Shoes, $50. Then we bring up Nettie Rosenstein, ultra in her field. Her contribution is this black velvet evening dress with a winged neckline, halter neck, and full skirt. Beautifully simple, isn't it? The price tag? Oh, yes. Well, let's say around $400. Van Cleef & Arpels diamond necklace, earrings, bracelets, pin, ring, worth $500,000. Next in the spotlight, Mr. John, Society Award milliner, creates a black silk velvet Here's to Romance cocktail chapeau with black aigrettes, priced at just $500 even. To wrap it up, a royal pastel mink. 90 superb skins match to fashion this distinctive coat worth $25,000 and designed by Miss Ruth Ruddy. If you say that doesn't add up to $1 million, you have no eye for figures.
Rome makes another bid for the title of fashion capital of the world, with 4 of Italy's leading designers pooling their talents in a swank showing of evening attire. Time was when all roads led to Rome, and today it seems many a style-wise traveler is discovering a new road paved with fashion's finest and lined with admiring glances. Black cape, white gown, contrasting and colorful. The archway frames Italian lovelies in lovely outfits, and a close-up of one reveals an interesting neckline. Paris, New York, Rome, whichever city you insist is the world's fashion capital, you must admit a pretty face is universal. No wardrobe is complete, so I hear tell, without a fur coat, and neither is a fashion show. So here is a beautiful finish to fashion finery.
4-year-old Debbie Baines, polio poster boy for 1954, takes the spotlight with his young escorts of honor to open the 10th annual March of Dimes fashion show presented by the New York Press Institute for the benefit of the National Foundation for Infantile Paralysis. Actress Helen Hayes and Basil O'Connor, president of the National Foundation, are prominent among the many celebrities who lend their support. Mrs. Mary Lasker and General John Reed Kilpatrick applaud the traditional showing of spring fashions. Featured throughout the showing is the Winged Victory silhouette, so called to symbolize the hope of winning the battle against polio. It's a thrilling first glimpse of spring styles with the added virtue of serving a very good cause. Fashions on parade to aid the March of Dimes. President Auriol of France arrives to preside over the 6th annual Night of Stars. Madame Leclerc, widow of the late general, is greeted by the president as a crowd of 5,000, including autograph hounds, jam the Tuileries grounds to catch a glimpse of Charles Boyer and other motion picture stars to be honored for their work. Among them is Gary Cooper, who for the moment abandons his He-Man role. Gregory Peck, another American, gets the French equivalent of the Oscar from the president, as Americans take a prominent role in France's Night of Stars.
Spotlight on big screen entertainment at New York's Times Square. The gala premiere of Thunder Bay ushers in a widescreen 3 times regular size. A new era of motion picture exhibition. Directional sound heightens the entertainment value of the film, a saga of offshore oil drilling. Universal International executives are among the 3,000 persons attending. Leaders of the motion picture industry, civic officials, stars of stage and screen, thronging into Lowe's State for the world premiere of this history-making picture. The new widescreen, with its tremendous scope for panoramic thrills, lends itself especially to adventure films such as this. The big town goes all out in its welcome. The boys in blue were hard at work when my husband and I arrived. We wouldn't have missed it for the world. Margaret Truman was among the celebrities on hand. The Boris Karloffs and no Frankenstein. Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh, the popular Mr. and Mrs. team from Hollywood, greeted by their fans. And a greeting in return by the handsome couple. Xavier Cugat and Abby Lane. The star of the picture, Jimmy Stewart, here for the premiere with the charming Mrs. Stewart, his #1 fan. Jimmy Stewart, plus the wonder of full stage screen, plus the miracle of stereophonic sound, plus Thunder Bay, all adding up to entertainment plus.
Beauty and the Beach is the name of the contest, and one judge is named Lou Costello. His sidekick, Bud Abbott, is also a judge, but it is Lou who is standing up to his task the best and looking for more. He thinks all of the gals ought to win a prize, but he's ruled out of order. Brenda Mee of London is the winner, and as Miss Great Britain, she'll compete in the forthcoming World Contest. Prizes are a rose bowl and a check for £1,000, plus the best wishes from A and C. Hey, Albert!
1953 for Americans was a year of change. It saw soldier-statesman Dwight D. Eisenhower take the oath of office as the nation's first Republican president in 20 years and receive the good wishes of his predecessor, Harry S. Truman. The new chief executive took the reins of government at a climactic moment in the country's history when the solution of foreign and domestic problems pressed for early decision. With a resounding political victory behind him, he faced them with confidence.
In Korea, 3 years of combat end as United Nations and communist negotiators at Panmunjom sign a truce. The long war, undertaken to stop red aggression, is over. The enemy holds less territory than before his troops marched, but the cost has been bitter for both sides. With fighting ended, a political conference is slated to deal with the touchy problem of unifying Korea and assuring peace. Neutral observers are already present to oversee adherence to armistice terms.
We have won an armistice on a single battleground, not peace in the world. We may not now relax our guard nor cease our quest. Throughout the coming months, during the period of prisoner screening and exchange, and during the possibly longer period of the political conference which looks toward the unification of Korea, we and our United Nation allies must be vigilant against the possibility of untoward developments.
Drumming up a record vote, political parties in Italy go all out to entice citizens to the polls. The two-day election sees the parties of the communist left and the monarchists right aligned against the four-party pro-Western coalition group, headed by the Italian's present premier, Alcide de Gasperi. There are over 8,300 candidates for a new Senate and Chamber of Deputies, and naturally the voters are confused. Every precaution is taken to assure a quiet election. Premier de Gasperi led his forces in a struggle to foster his middle-of-the-road platform. During the first day, the issue was in doubt, but the Gasperi forces went all out for victory. In the headlines is the Army's Amazon Annie, the giant mobile cannon that fires both conventional high explosives and atomic artillery shells. A battalion of the terrifyingly potent weapons will be shipped to Europe in support of NATO forces, a significant deployment of the free world's might. And with this announcement comes the first films of Amazon Annie actually firing an atomic shell. And there it is, the familiar sinister contours of the atomic cloud. A dramatic punctuation mark for these historic Defense Department films of the most lethal blast ever unleashed by any artillery weapon in history.
New York, Adlai Stevenson, defeated presidential candidate, makes his first major post-campaign speech at the Democrats' Jefferson Jackson Day dinner. On hand are Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, Sam Rayburn, Senator Lehman, and New York's Mayor Impellitteri, Margaret Truman, and Stevenson's running mate, Senator John Sparkman. An ovation greets the party's titular leader, who urges that the Eisenhower administration be given a fair chance to prove itself.
The Republican Party is attempting what has not been tried for a long time: government by businessmen. America has always been a nation ripe for experiment. We Democrats have experimented boldly and accomplished miracles.
Death came to Robert A. Taft, known as Mr. Republican and one of the nation's most respected leaders. His passing was mourned by all political groups. Joseph Stalin, the most powerful dictator in history, also passed from the scene, dealing world communism a heavy blow and opening a struggle for power among leaders in the Kremlin. Historic Westminster Abbey in London, scene of colorful pomp and ceremony of empire. A bright spot in the year came with the coronation of Queen Elizabeth II. The hopes and hearts of England and the Commonwealth went out to a young queen and to her husband, Duke Philip of Edinburgh. seeing in a second Elizabeth a revival of the glories and prestige that were England's in the days of the first Elizabethan era. A story of a queen who wrote bright pages in the story of the year.
Holland's Air Force celebrates its 40th year with a gala air show for the Queen, and allied NATO nations send aircraft to make the occasion a roaring success. Thousands look on as a flight of jets in tight formation opens the show. The Dutch Meteor fighters are followed by Titanic US B-36s, our intercontinental atom bombers. The new Hawker Hunter puts on a hair-raising performance. Another look at the Hunter, Britain's latest. It's already surpassed the speed of sound. Bringing the curtain down, a flight of U.S. Boeing B-47s, Stratojet bombers boasting fighter plane speed. An impressive display of the free world's wings for defense on the ready in Western Europe. While on the French aviation scene, flying boxcars lead off a mammoth air show at Le Bourget. A French transport goes through its paces under the interested eyes of General Norstad, NATO Air Chief. One of the attractions of the show is the French jet, the Mystère, which performs under the proud gaze of President Auriol. The Mystère may not long be a mystery. All manner of French test planes display their wares before a crowd of more than 400,000. A crowd which includes Madame Jacqueline Auriol, France's ace aviatrix. A Delta wing job completes the biggest show in France since the war. $40,000 are out at Jamaica for this year's Wood Memorial, richest race for 3-year-olds ever run on the New York circuit. A top-heavy favorite is Native Dancer. $1 gets you 10 cents if he wins, and practically everybody here expects him to win. This dress rehearsal for the Kentucky Derby. Alfred Gwynn Vanderbilt's flashy gray coat let Tahitian King set the pace until they round the final turn. And then Eric Guerin calls for full speed ahead. At the top of the stretch, Native Dancer responds to the whip. I hit him just once, Guerin said after the race, and overtakes the pace-setting Tahitian King. Even those rare railbirds who bet against him now view Native Dancer with admiration as he pounds down the stretch, opening the gap with every stride, winning by 4.5 lengths his 11th race in as many starts, adding $87,000 to his fabulous earnings. Yes, sir, at Churchill Downs on Derby Day, the Dancer ought to call the tune. Yes, sir, the Yankees did it. 5 straight World Series. Here are the highlights. Game 2, Yankee Stadium. All tied up in the 8th, Mickey Mantle facing Preacher Row. The Oklahoma Kid parked it in the left field seats. Hank Bauer was on board at the time, so it was 2 runs for the Yankees, and more than enough to give them a 2-0 lead in games over the Brooklyn Dodgers. The Bombers were flying high. Ebbets Field for game number 3. 8th inning, score tied. Roy Campanella stepped in against Vic Raschi. Campy atoned for previous failures at the plate with that one. His round tripper put the Dodgers out front in game 3, and they stayed there. Game number 4, and Duke Snyder, Dodgers center fielder, is the hero of this game. Snyder's double to right in the first inning drove in 2 runs, and the Brooks were off and running. 6th inning, the Duke hit one that was clear out of the park, and there was new life and new hope in Brooklyn. This was the Dodger team that had rolled up all kinds of records in the National League. Boom, another double for Snyder. Hail the Duke of Flatbush. Dodger hopes were riding high. Maybe this was next year. Campy scampered and them bums had tied up the series. Well, it was fun while it lasted, but then came game 5. Mickey did it again. Another home run, only this time it was a grand slammer. 3 teammates rocked across the plate in a procession of jubilation for Yankee fans. But to Dodger rooters, it had a funereal look. Mickey's wallop was the big blow of the 5th game, and Mickey was the big gun. Back to the stadium for the 6th, and as it turned out, the last game. Dodgers came close. Top of the 9th, Carl Furillo blasted one to the opposite field, dropped it in the right field corner for a home run.
A dramatic moment, for with Snyder on base, 2 runs came home for the Dodgers on Ferrillo's wallop, and the score was tied at 3-3. But you know the rest. Yanks had Bauer on second, Martin up in the bottom half of the 9th, and Martin laced one right up the middle, his 12th hit of the series, making him the hero of heroes. Bauer scored and the Yanks won the game and the series. Yes, sir, the Bombers did it again. 5 World Series in a row for Casey Stengel and his American League whiz-bangs. They made baseball history.
Detroit for highlights of the Pro Football Championship. Cleveland Browns versus Detroit Lions. Browns fumble second play from scrimmage, and Bingaman of the Lions recovers on the 13. On a handoff, Gedman drives for 6 yards, and the Lion is rampant on a cold, slippery field. Defending their world title, the Detroit play-for-pay boys cash in as Walker scores to put them out front. Only the beginning of a rock'em sock'em pro-grid thriller. The favored Browns get a break when a Lion aerial is intercepted, and things are looking up for the Cleveland Pros, who have failed in title bids 3 years in a row. Ace passer Otto Graham had a bad day passing, but a lateral clicks with some basketball bounce added by Ken Carpenter. Trailing 10-3, the Browns wind up on the Detroit 9, where Harry Jagady caps a 51-yard drive by going across, and the score is soon tied at 10-all. Then it's 13-10 favor of the Browns, and still they drive on with Jagady lugging leather, and it looks as if the Browns will take that coveted title this year at last. It looks more so when Lou the Toe Groza splits the uprights from 43 yards out, his 3rd field goal of the game. But a 16-10 lead vanishes in the closing minutes of play when Bobby Lane takes to the air and Lion receivers connect for big gains. The defending champs go 80 yards, culminating in a 34-yard touchdown toss from Lane to Duran, and Lion retains title 17-60.
Tony Galento, the former heavyweight contender, indulges in a bit of wrestling at Turner's Arena in Washington. The object of Tony's playful attention is Natey Brown, himself a one-time heavyweight hopeful. There are 2 other participants in the 4-way razzle-dazzle, Bobby Ford and Jesse James. But to return to Mr. Galento, the big question now is, which one's got the Tony? 2-ton Tony met Joe Louis, if you recall, as a boxer. We don't know which is more strenuous, boxing or wrestling, but wrestling looks more strenuous. Rough on the ref. Rennie Renfro gets an extra warm welcome from Daisy when he arrives at the dock on Lake Shasta, California. To Daisy, who owns an odd name for a male but doesn't mind doing a little advertising, his master's arrival means only one thing: he can go water skiing. Yes, sir, Daisy's quite a dog. When he takes the bit in his mouth, there's adventure in the offing. A chance to put on the dog, so to speak. Who says you can't teach an old dog new tricks? Holding fast to the bar with his teeth leaves Daisy free to express his joy at being the world's first water skiing dog. Look, Ma, no paws. Pretty perky pooch, if you please. Mastering any trick often leads to overconfidence. So, whoops-a-daisy. Shake a leg on the rope, mister. Daisy's got the shakes. Time to toss in the towel. New York, a bevy of belles chomping into the calories in the season's first and only Spaghetti Derby. No hands, no silverware. Just bite yourself a wad of the slippery confetti and inhale. That's the stuff, sister. Just keep a stuffing and let the sauce fall where it may. A gal can really get wrapped up in her work competing in a contest of this sort. And if everything pans out, we'll have a winner by and by. And the winner rises to the occasion. She ate the spaghetti, you bet. She really used her noodle. Queen of the spaghetti eaters, she. But trouble brews. A poor loser has no appetite for second fiddle and provides her own crown for a queen. That'll take the starch out of her. It's time for the folding of the bulls. Once a year on St. Firmin's Day, the young men of Pamplona lock horns with El Toro in a wild, mad dash through the streets. A bruise is a badge of honor this day, though it's not dishonorable to duck if you duck in time. Seems this fella didn't, but he's okay, and don't ask me how or why. The street is so jammed, it's hard to find room to steer clear of steer. The bull ring is reached, but the show is far from over. If you're wondering just how bull baiters manage to stay alive, go right ahead. We're wondering too. Only slight bruises, reports our local correspondent. Bones must be made of rubber here in Pamplona. This is a Spanish version of the morning hour rush on the subway, with plenty of beefing being done by all hands. Preparing to go aloft in competition for the Parachute Jumping Championship of France, these daredevils act like it's just daily routine, with not a flicker of expression, even on this pretty face, to indicate the hair-raising feats in store. For it's a free-fall competition, with honors to the shooters who falls longest without cracking open his canopy. Judges watch anxiously, for the slightest miscalculation could spell disaster. But it's a perfect landing, right on target. And another hits the silk. Seems to have drifted a little off his course here. Or did he? Right in his own backyard. And winding things up, the highlight of the meet, a spectacular leap, a swan dive through empty space, dropping thousands of feet in free flight. What a jump. Hey, it's my turn. Oh, look, here he comes now. And it's no surprise that this is the champ. Little girls make big news in Long Beach, California. They're having a beauty parade, 100 of them between the ages of 4 and 6, competing for the title Miss California Junior. Wearing the latest in small fry fashions, the purveyors of pint-sized pulchritude parade past judges and visitors to the annual California Society picnic in Bixby Park. Poise and personality are paramount, and 4-year-old Jane Rubel has both aplenty, as everyone is quick to agree. Yes, little Curly Top is California's junior miss. Sugar and spice, she's got a lot. She is tops of all the tiny tots.
A volcanic outburst of carnival spirit climaxes New Orleans Mardi Gras with a Rex parade as thousands throng the downtown streets. Practically anything goes as the spirit of revelry reaches its height. In this case, boy meets girl. Fit for a sultan's palace, they are. The can-cans can and do. Everybody's feeling bully for the Rex Parade, which had its origin in 1872. The glowworm blows his top. Another reveler gets a lift from the proceedings. Hemlines will be higher, but him likes them lower. Run for the hills, men. Annie's here, and she's having a barrel of fun. Everybody is.
No chump is Jerry the chimp. He knows what to do about the weather when it waxes warm at Anaheim, California. Nobody ever told him chimpanzees were supposed to be allergic to water. Heck no. Jerry's just mad about the wet stuff, especially on a hot day. Only thing Jerry is allergic to is soap. That and pals who don't like water. Ah, there's one now. Duck, Mary. Jerry spotted you, and his ire is aroused. He can't stand ducks not taking the water. So he takes them there himself. Mary is contrary, but Jerry is quicker. They used to call her Bathless Mary, but she's bathless no longer. Jerry's gonna teach her to swim or else. Mary finally ducked out on him, so Jerry goes to the showers to cool off all over again. Yep, it's all or nothing with Jerry.